If you think you can depend on other people in your final decades, especially family, you're in for a rude awakening. If that's your expectation as you get into your 70s, 80s or your 90s even, you are teeing yourself up for a fragile future. It's easy to assume someone will be there, but will they? What if they're not? Life changes. Children grow up, friends move on, some even die, relationships change. You realise family cannot be your foundation, and that realisation changes everything. You start understanding something important. Freedom doesn't come from other people looking after you and being at your beck and call. It comes from building a life that can still stand, even when you're mostly standing alone. You need to build your own support system, your own way of staying strong. I have a personal operating system that helps me do this. I created it in my 50s and I'm fine-tuning it in my 60s. Its sole purpose is to ensure I stay active and healthy for the next 20 plus years. It has 6 pillars. I call it my 6 POS. Here are the 6 pillars that matter more than family after 60. Number 1, physical, your body, your health. Because without health, everything else becomes harder. Your freedom, your energy, your independence, your ability to live life on your terms, all of it sits on top of your health. And after 60, you start realizing how quickly health can change. One fall, one operation, one test result, one chronic condition, and suddenly your entire life looks different. That's the part a lot of people don't think about. They don't prepare for. They assume the body will just keep going because for most of your life, it did. But after 60, your body starts keeping score. You feel it in the morning, you feel it in your energy, you feel it in your recovery. Things that used to feel easy don't feel quite so easy anymore, and that changes the way you think. You start realizing that good health isn't about looking young, it's about staying capable, staying mobile, staying in control of your own life. That's why I walk every day, why I strength train 2 or 3 times a week, why I pay attention to what I eat. Not because I'm trying to look 25. That ship sailed a long time ago. I do it because I want to protect my freedom, because there's a big difference between growing older and becoming dependent, and the older you get, the more important that difference becomes. Number 2, passion. This is where a lot of people quietly fall apart because work gave them structure, identity and routine, a reason to get up in the morning, and then one day it's gone and nobody prepares you for that emptiness. That's why so many people after retirement start drifting. They lose momentum, they lose direction, they stop feeling needed. And at first it feels like freedom, no alarms, no commute, no pressure, but after a while the days start blending together. Monday feels like Thursday. Weeks pass quickly, and sometimes people start feeling as though they're waiting for life instead of living it. That's why purpose matters so much. And purpose doesn't have to mean building a company or changing the world. It can be simple, creating things, helping people, mentoring, writing, gardening, walking, learning, sharing your experience, just having something that makes the day feel worth living. Because without purpose, time starts feeling heavy. And after 60, that's a dangerous place to live. Number 3, psychological, your mindset, your mental energy. This one is massive because I've seen people grow old very young. They stop learning, stop adapting, stop being curious. They get stuck in the past. Everything new becomes a problem. Every change becomes a threat. And after a while, they start shrinking into themselves, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You can see it happening. The world moves forward, and they stop moving with it. They start saying things like, I'm too old for that, I could never learn that, it's too late now. And honestly, that attitude can destroy a person long before age does, because after 60, your mindset might be the most important thing you still control. You can still learn, still grow, and still evolve. I didn't start this channel until I was 63. Most people my age wouldn't even attempt it. Too technical, too different, too late. But that's the wrong attitude. After 60, you have to keep your brain alive, writing, reading, thinking, learning, and questioning. Because the moment you stop growing, life starts shrinking. And I think that's one of the saddest things that can happen to a person. Number 4, philosophical, your spiritual energy, your inner life. This is the one most people ignore. But I think it matters more as you get older. You start thinking about bigger things. Time, meaning, loss, regret, mortality. And if you have no inner foundation, those thoughts can become very heavy. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean religion. For some people it does. For others it's philosophy, spirituality, being in touch with nature, reflection, gratitude, and silence. But you need something deeper than distraction, because constant noise does not bring peace. And I think a lot of people are terrified of silence now. They always need something playing, something distracting them, something filling the space. But after 60, you start realizing that a quiet mind is actually a gift. You need somewhere internal to stand. For me, that's often my solo walks, brilliant for quiet thinking and reflecting, trying to understand life a little bit better. And honestly, I think that inner life becomes more important with every decade. Number 5, people. Not lots of people, the right people. This is an important difference, because after 60 you start realizing that a lot of relationships were built around convenience, work, proximity, routine, but later life has a way of revealing who cares, and sometimes that number is smaller than you expected, and that can hurt, especially if you spent years always showing up for other people. But after 60 you start seeing relationships differently. You notice who only contacts you when they need something, who drains you, who leaves you feeling heavier after every conversation, and you start realizing that peace has value too. I think a lot of people get this wrong. They chase more people, more socializing, more activity, when what they really need is better connection. People who give energy, not just take it. People who make life feel lighter, not heavier. And this is important. Do not spend the final chapters of your life chasing people who aren't really showing up for you. Build real connections, not performative ones. Number 6, prosperity. People get uncomfortable when you talk about this, but it matters, because after 60, money isn't really about status anymore. It's about control. If you have no financial control, you lose options, you lose freedom, you lose independence, and worry starts creeping into everything. That's why I think a lot of people misunderstand retirement. They think it's about stopping work. It isn't. It's about owning your time, because there's a big difference between choosing to work and having to work. One feels liberating, the other feels like a trap. And after 60 you feel that difference very deeply. You start counting your time differently, you stop thinking, how far can I go? And you start thinking, how long do I want to keep doing this? And that is a very different question. But after 60, you do not want to feel trapped by the need to keep working when your heart is no longer in it. The more financial control you have, the less you need to depend on other people, and that matters more than most people realize. Don't get me wrong. Family matters, of course it does, but family is not a complete life strategy. You need your own foundations to keep you standing for when life changes, for when people leave, for when things don't go to plan. And after 60, those foundations matter more than ever. Let me ask you, which of these 6 pillars do you think matters most? Let me know in the comments. And if this video resonated with you, watch this one next. It's about the brutal truth of working after 60. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.